Hello YouTube, this is Mike. All right, so I'm going to do something a little bit different, but still in the same neighborhood because this channel is about romantic relationships. So I'm going to give you my early Christmas gift, which is how to get exactly what you want in a relationship. Now, that of course is a little bit of a clickbait title because, of course, there's going to be some point in some relationship somewhere where you're not going to get exactly what you want. That's part of what we're talking about here. But throughout the years, I have counseled people when it comes to relationships. I've learned some really good rules about how to just not stay in dead-end relationships. And this is also advice that would work with me. If somebody was with me in a relationship, what I'm going to suggest that you do would work really well with me. That would make me want to be in a relationship with somebody who is able to do this. Now, before I get into it, let me give some caveats here. As I was writing up this list of 10 things that you can do to get exactly what you want in a relationship, I also became aware that this is not something you should do when you're emotionally stimulated. So if you're angry or sad or afraid, I'm thinking now, of course, as I'm writing up, I'm thinking, well, how would somebody with BPD handle this? And I went, oh, they would probably interpret this the wrong way. So what I'm going to give you, these 10 steps are when you are in a rational state of mind. If you've got a lot of emotions, wait a day. Don't do this if you're in the middle of an argument or something like that. Because the assumption to these 10 things I'm going to share with you, the pre-existing assumption is that you are comfortable within yourself. Now, if you're desperate and needy, then you're not going to follow these steps exactly. If you are frightened and you are reactive, you're not going to respond to these steps accurately. So this is when, especially when you're first getting to know somebody, this is very important. We need to understand that everybody has the right to their own desires or lack thereof. Nobody is required to meet your needs, and you're not required to meet anybody else's needs. You have the right to want or not want anything. And my experience, being able to communicate what you want is a really good way to keep a relationship together. Now, this of course assumes that both parties are able to be honest and take responsibility. My experience with specifically here codependents, partners of borderlines, is that they don't say what they want. They are constantly thinking about what the other person wants, what the other person needs, what the other person is demanding. And what ends up happening is that your desires don't go away simply because you don't acknowledge them. They build up. And then they build up, and then they'll come out in some passive-aggressive way. And as I'm thinking about it, the truth is that why people end up with people like borderlines or NPDs is because they're just not comfortable with their own desires. And so if you're with somebody who's a tyrant or who's unreasonable or irrational or unpredictable, then you never really have time to just sit and have your desires and your feelings. And so this is one of the reasons I think why codependents do that, because if they were to sit with their feelings, then they'd have to go through these 10 things. So, all right, I've tried to give the disclaimer here. Let's just go ahead and get into it. So, I've got here 10 things. First thing we need to understand before we go any further, this is something that a lot of people, especially in the kinds of relationships we talk about here on this channel, A lot of people have difficulty with the reality, which is that all relationships are transactional. All relationships are a deal. You give, you get. If you get something, you have to give something. And everybody comes into every relationship, romantic, business, personal, or otherwise, because they have an agenda that they want met. And the other person also has an agenda. And when you can meet each other's agendas, you have a successful relationship. That's not a bad thing. It's important to understand that. There's only one relationship in the universe where it's not a transactional relationship. There's only one relationship that has true unconditional love that goes one way. Have you guessed it yet? It is the mother and the infant. If you're on this channel, your mother probably didn't do a very good job at this, but that's the only relationship where there is unconditional giving without wanting anything in return. Every other relationship, to some degree, has a transaction implied. So before you start talking about how selfish your partner is or whatever that you might want to say, understand that you are also. And if you ever find yourself upset, angry, sad, depressed, something like that, it means that you didn't get what you wanted. And that's okay. It's okay to have those feelings. All right. So now let's get into it here. Let's take a look at the 10 things in relationships. So as I said before, all relationships are transactional. So step one is become conscious of what you want from this person. This is the first step, and in my experience, it's the most difficult. So let me give you some examples from my past. When I was a younger man, in my 20s, I was your typical kind of stupid idiot male who didn't understand how to interact with females. A lot of testosterone in my brain. I didn't understand. I didn't get them. I didn't know what I was doing. I was doing something wrong all the time. I didn't know what it was. There was I think it was a Family Guy cartoon. And they do those little asides, and anyway, they did a little aside, and it was like a parody of one of those, like one of those kids' high school shows, TV shows. And there was a kid, a teenage guy, and he's at his locker, and some girl walks up and says something about, "Are you going to the dance?" And he says something to the effect of, "I haven't decided yet." In which case she yells at him and says, "You're horrible," and then goes off crying. And then the friend walks up and says, "I can't believe you did that." And then the jingle, as the guy's looking confused, there's this jingle that comes on that says, "Men, we don't know what we did." And that typifies my experience early on with women. And again, I'm just trying to use this as an example. And younger women would say things like, "Well, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you. Or you should just know." And I'd say, "No, I need you to tell me." And I learned after a while when I was dating, I'd say, "Hey, listen, before we go any deeper, I want to ask you a favor. If you want something from me, you have to ask. You want me to hold your hand? You want me to put my arm around you? You want me to take you out to a fancy restaurant? Whatever it is you want me to do, I need you to ask me. Just don't assume that I'm going to do it, because I'm an idiot. I have no idea what you want." And but if you're going to do that, then you also have to give me the right to say no. And that's the thing that's missing. In my experience, codependents don't ask for what they want, and yet they demand that they get it. And when they don't get it, they get upset. Now, I'm talking about both, if we're talking about the focus of this channel, borderlines as well as codependents. They both do the same thing because they're both codependent. They tend to want what they want, and if they don't get it, they get upset, and they just assume that the other person is going to give them what they want. So that's the first thing. What did I say the first thing was? Become conscious of what you want from this person. In terms of codependence, what you want is not to be Superman. You may think that's what you want. You know, there was that Netflix, was it Netflix? About the love, the guy, you know, the crazy guy that was marrying all the women and stealing all their money. And after listening to him talk at the end of that, I came to the conclusion he was borderline with narcissistic personality disorder. He was a borderline. And he had his phrase, which was, "I'll do anything to be your everything." So in his mind, what he wants is he wants you to love him. And he's willing to be or do whatever he has to do to get you to give that to him. Of course, then once they gave that to him, then he would destroy the relationship and steal all their money, etc., etc. But if you're coming into a relationship, it's really important from the get-go to know what you want. Do you want love? Do you want sex? Do you want kids? Do you want to get married? What is it exactly that you want? It's great you're attracted, but you've got to know what it is that you want going into it. What do you want from the relationship? This has nothing to do with them. This is you. This is something you do by yourself. You decide what you want. And then, I didn't put it here, but number 2 would be, or 1A would be, and then don't judge yourself. If you become aware that what you want is a mainly sexual relationship, then own that. If what you want is love and marriage and kids, then own that. Be okay with whatever it is that you want. Your partner, if they are healthy and loving, will appreciate it. They might not give you what you want, but they'll appreciate you telling exactly what you want. Another example, this time in my 30s. When I was in my 30s, there was a string of women I was dating. For whatever reason, I guess because it's that age, there was 2 or 3 of them in a row where we went out 2 or 3 times, and on the second or third date, we're out eating at a restaurant, and I get the talk. And the talk is, "Hey, Mike, I really like you, and we get along great, but I need to know if you plan to have kids. Because if not, I have to go find somebody who does, because my clock is going off and I need to have kids." And sometimes they would be really stressed out as they say it. I'd say, I don't want kids. And it was very sad for both of us. They went their own way and found whoever there was and got knocked up and squeezed out some kids, and good for them. But I was really appreciative, because I've been in relationships with women who said, no, that's okay. I say, "I don't want kids." No, that's okay. And then they're crying in the middle of the night because I won't have kids with them and marry them. And so that's just a bunch of drama, and then I got to feel bad, and then they're pretending they don't want what they want, and then they're mad at me because they're not honest with themselves, and it's just such a giant pain in the rear end. So know what it is that you want from the other person, and then be okay with it. Okay, so that's step 1. Don't judge yourself, because if you guilt yourself, realize that guilt is anger turned inward. Whenever you feel guilty, if you're listening to me, if you feel guilty, what's really going on is you're angry at whoever you think you're feeling guilt towards. So as you're going, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm such a horrible piece of crap," what's really going on is you're angry with that person. And you're angry with them for not doing what you want, or making you feel responsible for doing what they want. So the way to avoid feeling guilty, which is being angry, is know what you want up front, so that you don't have to then try and finagle it in some passive-aggressive way, manipulative way. All right, so what's number 2? Number 2. Can they realistically give this to you? As you can see, I misspelled realistically because I was in a hurry. That's something I would give somebody a hard time for, so I'm going to give myself a hard time for misspelling the word realistically. But that's number 2. Can they realistically give this to you? If you're involved with a borderline or with a narcissist, somebody who has broken their promises to you over and over again, somebody who has cheated on you, somebody who has hurt you, or somebody who has outright told you that they don't want whatever it is that you want from them, then all you're going to get is pain. There's no point in trying to meet somebody halfway if they can't give you what you want. This won't work if you don't get honest with yourself to know what it is you want from somebody. You think you're being this empath, that you're giving and not asking for anything, but you're just building up the pressure inside of you to act out on them. You're either going to get angry at them, you're going to blow up, you're going to be passive aggressive, you're going to do something, you're going to be controlling, you're going to start telling them what to do. That's all coming from you not owning in yourself what it is that you want. So if you know what it is that you want, you're realistic about it, then you have to realistically ask, can this person give this to me? Not do they say they're going to give it. That's not what you're asking. Again, you're with a borderline. They keep doing what they're doing. Their actions are telling you what they're capable of. Their words might be telling you something else. Your desire for hoping it'll get better is telling you something else. But if you look at the objective facts, they keep not giving you what you want. So can they realistically give it to you? If you're with an alcoholic, a drug addict, a homeless person, somebody who's got some kind of a mental, emotional issue, there's a good chance they're not capable of giving you what you want. That's not their fault. It's your fault for wanting them to give you something they can't give you. So really look at that person. Can this person realistically give me what I want? Now, you may not know right off the bat, but a lot of times you do. All right, so know what it is that you want, and then determine, can they realistically give it to you? Then number 3, decide if not getting what you want is a deal breaker. And this was, again, what was happening with me when the women were coming to me and saying, I need to know if you want to have kids, because if not, I got to go find somebody else. And I'd say no, and that was a deal breaker. They weren't mad at me, it wasn't my fault, I wasn't mad at them. We shook hands as friends and walked away, and we took responsibility for what we wanted. But it was a deal breaker for them. When I've been doing counseling with relationships, on my other channel I do spiritual counseling, and when I do relationship counseling, there's usually, in my experience, more often than not, forgive me for generalizing, but there's usually a woman. I'd say 75% chance it's a woman, 25% chance it's a guy. And she is upset because whoever she is with is doing this and doing that, and how can I get him to do this, and how can I get him to do that? And I stop and I say, hang on. Is this relationship important to you? Yes, it's everything to me. Okay, great. So let me ask you a question. Can you accept this person exactly as they are? Well, yes, no ifs. Can you accept this person exactly as they are? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then I say, great. Now I can help you. I can help you figure out how to learn how to be with this person and make compromises, etc., etc. If the answer to the question is no, and a lot of people don't have the honesty about this, but can you accept them and their behavior and your relationship exactly as it is, yes or no? And if the answer is no, then I say there's nothing more to talk about. Yeah, but how can I get him? You can't. You can't get him to do anything. You can't make him do anything. You can't change his nature. You can't change his character. You can't change what he does and what he doesn't do. Doesn't matter what he says. Matters what he does. You've been with him how long? For 3 years, and he's done this repeatedly. You've got all the information you need. You know exactly what you're going to get, and if you can't accept him exactly as he is, it's time to go. That's it. It's either accept it exactly as it is or go. All right, so let's see, that's number 3. Decide if not getting what you want is a deal breaker. Number 4, accept this person has a right to say no. Like I talked about in the beginning, that's a big one. In my experience, a lot of people, because they want, they're insecure within themselves, and they need to have somebody around, anybody around. And this, if you're attracted to a borderline or a narcissist or something, you're so wrapped up in the need of not losing them If you're a borderline, you don't want to lose the other person. You don't want to lose them. Well, if you're starting from that point, then you're going to deny that it's okay for somebody to say no. But here's a truth. Truth is that nobody is required to do anything you want. Nobody. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just the fact of the matter. Nobody's required to do anything. Because if there was a requirement, then people who did bad things like steal or, a bunch of other bad things, if they did that, they would immediately stop existing. They would stop and they would keel over and die. People have the right to do all kinds of things because they get away with it. Whether it's, right or not, that's a whole other issue. But people have the right to do whatever the hell they want, and there's nothing you can do about it. That means people have the right to say no. Unfortunately, even mothers have the right to discard their children. It's horrible. It has horrible effects on them. But maybe we should use a different word. Everybody has the ability to do whatever the hell they want. And the universe isn't going to stop you from doing whatever the hell you want. And it's not going to stop them either. So it's just a lot easier to give everybody the right to do whatever the hell they want. And if you say to somebody, all I want from you is I want respect, and I want you to tell me the truth, and I want you to, just promise that you won't cheat on me, and, very basic, normal things. That's all I want from you. Can you give that to me? And either they say, or in their actions, they say no. End of discussion. There's nothing more to talk about. So, number 5. Now that you've gone through these first 4 steps, become conscious of what you want. Can they realistically give this to you? Maybe you don't know, so you'll have to ask and find out. 3, decide if not getting what you want is a deal breaker. So decide ahead of time, because if it's a deal breaker, then you might want to really think about it before asking it, because that's going to determine what's going to happen in the relationship. Number 4, just know ahead of time this person has the right to say no to whatever it is you ask. And that means asking them to love you. And number 5, humbly and directly asking for what you want. So I said humbly because a lot of, I can already hear the less evolved people hearing this and going, yeah, Mike said I have the right to ask for whatever I want, and then just throwing it in their face. I want you to do this, and you should do that. Even if what you're asking is very reasonable. This is really good, because then you find out really quick, number 1, how reasonable somebody is, and number 2, if they follow through on their words. Borderlines are a good example. They don't follow through on their promises. And if you have this going into a relationship and you get involved with a borderline, because they're hard to detect, and if you're set up for it, I attract them pretty easily. So this is a good way to protect myself, because if I say to somebody ahead of time, hey, this is what I want. Are you willing to give me this? And they say yes. And I say, here's what I want. Can you give me this, that, and the other thing? And they say, yes, I'll do that. If they don't do that, now I know. Now I know a bunch of things. I know they can't give me that, or they're choosing not to, or whatever. And now it's my responsibility to decide if I want to stay. If we followed this every time a borderline split on us, they would only split on us once. One split, and we would be, they didn't do that. They have the right to say no. This is a deal breaker. I can't change them. I can't live without this. Okay, bye. And as upset as you would be, you would rationally and logically know that there's nothing more to discuss. And you leave. When they come back to hoover you, they say, I'll give it to you this time. I swear, I'm sorry. I swear I'll give it to you. You look over your thing and you say, yeah, but they already proved that they can't give it to me, so I'm wasting my time. Their words and their actions don't meet up. And then you say, nope, sorry, thank you, bye. That's easier said than done, but see, if you can implant this in yourself, what this does is, the main thing is it gives you the ability to take full responsibility. Take full responsibility for what you want, what you need, and not to judge it. What we do is we go into it not acknowledging our needs because we weren't taught it's okay to need love. We were taught our job is to take care of other people and make other people like us and be whatever it is that they want so that we'll be okay, we'll be good people. And never in there do you think about what you want. But the truth is, underneath all of that caregiving is a massive need for love and attention. And if you judge that, if you judge yourself, oh, I'm so wimpy, I need so much, I want so much love. If you judge yourself for that, then you're not going to be able to stop yourself from going after it. You're just going to convince yourself that what you're really here to do is take care of them, and I don't ask for much. Famous codependent mantra. I don't ask for much, but I just want this one thing. No, when somebody says I don't ask for much, it means they ask for everything. And here's the thing, if you are able to ask without pressuring somebody, without manipulating them, without guilting them, or without suppressing it, if you're able to ask somebody what I really want, you know what I want? I want somebody who wants to trade massages. I want somebody who wants to massage my feet while I'm watching television. There's a lot of people are going to go, well, I'm not going to do that. But I swear to you, from personal experience, somebody goes, oh my God, I love that. My last boyfriend, I used to always want to massage his feet, and he would say no, but it makes me feel better because it gives me something to do with my hands while I watch television. Well, hell, what can I sign up for that? I get to lie on and watch television, and you're thanking me for giving me a foot massage? Where do I sign up for that? They exist. This is how you end up getting what you want, knowing what it is that you want. If it's really, truly unreasonable and unrealistic, you'll find out. It'll become apparent. But you'd be surprised that there are people out there that are looking for somebody. Like I said, I swear to you, there's at least one woman out in the world, because I met her, who said, God, I just wish I could find a guy who would just let me massage his feet or massage his back while we're watching television, because it's just so much fun. Okay. All right, so humbly and directly ask for what you want. 6, since you have owned what it is that you want, number 6, you have to accept this person's response. You have to accept it. You put it out there. You took responsibility for what you wanted. You put it out there. You put them in the position of taking responsibility for what they want. You've said, what I want is I want somebody who is willing to give me a foot massage every night while we watch Netflix. And they're going to say no. Maybe. Maybe they'll say yes, but maybe they're going to say no. No, I don't want to do that. You have to accept it. You've already decided it's a deal breaker. That's a deal breaker for me. That's what I need from somebody. And you can't give it to me. And they said no. If they say yes, then there's no point in going on. You can stop right there at step 5, because if you humbly and directly ask for what you want and they say yes, then there's no point in going on. Number 6, if they say no, you have to accept their response, which means you don't sit there and try and explain to them why you need it. You don't try and get them to understand your need. You don't, in this example, I'll use the borderline. I've shared about this before, but early on in my research, I was flipping around and I saw this YouTube channel from this young, cute, beautiful borderline woman who was talking about how to have a relationship with a borderline. And she was saying things like, you really need to understand we're very special and this and that, and we just need to feel safe. And she's going through all the things that she needs. And she says, what I need from my partner is when I'm feeling a certain way and they try and comfort me, I actually know. It's going to be very specific. And she came up with a hypothetical, like, I might want you to cradle me with your left hand and then put your right hand here, and then I want you to say these exact words and hold me just exactly like this. Because if you don't, you do the opposite, because I'm a borderline and it's going to push me the wrong way and I'm not going to like it and I won't feel loved. And so let me see, what was that? That's somebody trying to, first off, when somebody says, I don't know what that means, I don't know how to exactly hold you that way. All I know is that I see that you're in pain and I'm trying to comfort you the best way that I can. That's all I've got. That's the best I've got. I I can't constantly change exactly what it is I'm doing and monitor exactly what hand is going where, and tomorrow you're gonna want it the opposite. I can't do that. If I could do that, if I could read your mind, I could do it, but I can't. I'm sorry. And then the borderline is going to then say, well, listen, you need to understand why I feel like this. I find this on the channel here, where I try to explain to borderlines that it's one thing to have a feeling, but your feelings aren't everything. Your feelings are not facts. And other people's intention is what's important. And just because you have a feeling, just because I said something that hurt your feelings, doesn't mean I need to change that just because you had a feeling. And that's really selfish and narcissistic and destructive, to demand that other people always do whatever it is that doesn't stimulate you negatively. You need to own your own responses. That's not my fault. I'm not going to stop making videos on my channel because I said something that offended you, that hurt your feelings. Right? So that's you don't try and change their mind. Don't try and talk them into it. If the relationship doesn't work out, you decide to break up with them, they decide to break up with you. When you realize at some point, okay, because lots of times what will happen is you'll realize a couple months into it, this person's just not capable of giving me what I want. You're going to want closure. You're going to want to call them up and say, yes, we're breaking up, and I need you to understand that the reason I'm doing this, and so if you don't do this and I don't do that, and so what you're saying is, and then people, they're fighting at the end over, it's like, you want to go, wait, but didn't you guys just decide it was over? Well, yeah, but they need to understand. No, they don't need to understand anything. It's over. Just shake hands and go. They're not going to, it doesn't matter if they understand what you want or why you did this, or none of that matters anymore. It's over. So once they've given you their reason and they don't want to do it, then stop. Don't try and talk them into it. It's not going to serve you. That works if you're willing to negotiate and cooperate. If somebody, if you're in that state, then, and if somebody says, well, explain to me what that means to you. Why do you want that? They want to hear what you have to say. Like I would want to know. If somebody wanted something from me and maybe I did or didn't want to give it, I might want to know. Well, explain to me what that does for you. Because then I'll feel something for you. I'll go, oh, well, that makes you feel this way. And then, okay, I can do that. It's not something I want to do, but I'll do it. I love you. I'm happy to make that sacrifice. All right, let's go on. Number 8, accept the reality of the transaction. Again, this is a transaction. Relationships are a transaction. I love you, you love me. I'm trying to avoid me saying this. The man goes out and works 40 hours a week, and the woman stays home and cleans the house, and in exchange, they both get their desire to have kids and a family, and I do this and you do that. That's the reality of the transaction. One of the things I hear all the time, if I'm flipping through the, Plenty of Fish or OkCupid or whatever it is that you'll see in some people's profile, I just want to be loved for who I am. The truth of the matter is that doesn't happen in the adult world. It's not impossible, but it just doesn't happen. People love you for what you do for them. They love you for the needs that you meet for them. And that's usually one of the mantras that somebody will say, i.e. a borderline. Somebody will say something like that when they don't have the ability to meet other people's needs. I shared about this last time. This was one of the biggest eye-opening experiences of my relationship with my borderline ex. She had been sexually abused, and during one of our interactions she got stimulated and all kinds of feelings came up, and I dropped everything and I focused on her, and I just loved her, and I loved her through the pain, and I really tried to give her a safe environment so she could have her feelings and cry and all that stuff. And it took a lot out of me. I was happy to do it, but it just kicked the crap out of me. What felt like a couple of hours could have been 20 minutes, but it felt like a couple of hours. After all that was done, and she felt good. She said, okay, let's go. I said, wait, hang on. I just did a marathon thing here. I need some love. I need some attention. She goes, well, I'm not going to drop everything just for you. So what was I saying? What does that have to do with what we were talking about? Accept the reality of the transaction. So the reality of the transaction is this is a one-way street. You're here to give to me, and if I need it, you're going to give it to me. And if you decide to give something to me, I will not owe you anything. It won't mean anything to me. I won't feel any responsibility to take care of you whatsoever. So thanks for doing that. And I even said something to that effect of when she says, I'm not going to drop everything just for you. And I said, isn't that what I just did? I just dropped everything to take care of you. Well, that was your choice. I mean, if you wanted to do that, that's great that you wanted to do that, but that doesn't mean I have to. So it became really clear to me that what I want is a transaction. If I'm going to give of myself like that and take care of you and your need, I'm going to want you to take care of me and mine. It became clear to me. This is the transactional relationship here is skewed completely against me. I have to be willing from here on out to completely pour everything I have into her when she's upset, because if she's upset and I don't do something, she might get up and walk out. So in order to make her happy and make her feel safe, I got to put all this time and effort into her. But if I need it, she's not going to be there. So that's the reality of this transaction, and I can't do that. And then you go back to, is this a deal breaker? Yep, this is a deal breaker. I can't do this. All right, let's keep going. Number 9. This is what I just said. Decide if the relationship is worth the transaction. It's a one-way street. This is what you're going to get. Is it worth it? Nope. I talk myself through this every time that there's good size waves, because as you know, I'm a surfer. That's my thing, right? Surfing. Oh, right here. Sorry, right here. That's my thing. And I'm 57 years old, and even though I'm in good shape and all that, I do not have the lung power that I had when I was 25 or 30, where I could go out in double overhead waves and paddle through that for an hour, take an hour to get passed out in the wave. I can't do that anymore. So I look at those waves and I go, yeah, that wave would be a hell of a lot of fun to surf, but is it worth all of the work to get out? Do I want to take the risk of falling on that wave, having my leash break, and having to swim in through all the currents? And if the answer is the work to fun ratio doesn't add up, like if it's more work than it is fun, I don't go out. So relationships are like that too. You want to look at the work to fun ratio here. It's going to be work. There's always going to be work, but is there going to be a payoff in it? If you've been cheated on, devalued, disrespected, all that kind of stuff 5, 6, 7 times, if you had an experience like the one I just shared with you where it's really clear that you're not going to get anything out of it, you're going to be putting everything into it, and maybe if she's in the mood, you'll get something if it's in her selfish interest, and if not, forget it, then the work to fun ratio isn't worth it. And then you got to go back to, can I accept this exactly the way it is? Nope. All right, I'm out of here. And you see what I mean? This takes away all of the guilt, all of the being a good person, because there's so much of that in there. But what do I do? They're so needy. They need me so badly. Well, what's true for them is true for you, which is that you're not required to give anybody anything they want unless they're your child or your pet. Your child and your pet, you have to take care of them. They get sick, they get old, you got to take care of them because nobody else will. So you took the responsibility of bringing a child into this world. You took the responsibility of taking, Mr. Bojangles from the pound and taking him home as your dog. That's something you got to do. But in terms of adult relationships, you don't have to. You don't have to meet somebody's desires if it's not something you want to do. It sounds really cold and cruel, but it's the truth. And if you know that ahead of time, before you get into a relationship, you can save yourself a lot of trouble. Now, you might find yourself in a lot less relationships because you realize when it comes down to it, I really don't want to do that. That's a lot of responsibility. I'm not ready for that. It's okay. You meet somebody, you date, they fall in love, you realize you don't want it. You have the right to walk away. It's just the way things are. Number 10, take action to either invest in the relationship or leave. Now, I'm not talking about, you're arguing about doing the dishes. I'm not talking about minor stuff. I'm talking about real stuff. Sometimes doing the dishes is symbolic. If somebody's really bent out of shape because you didn't do the dishes, then, if I were their counselor, I would say, what does that signify? There's something else going on here. But if it's something minor like that, it's not a big deal. But once you've come to the conclusion what the nature of the transaction is, are they capable of giving you what you want? Are you willing to compromise, yes or no? Then you have to make a decision. The easy one is if somebody's in a lot of pain and they're really upset because so-and-so is not doing this and they're not doing that, and they ask me all kinds of questions like, what can I do to get them to do this? And when is he ever going to realize this? And those kinds of questions I already know. I already know that somebody's just got an expectation or a bunch of expectations that aren't getting met. And so I say, can you accept them exactly as they are? Can you accept the relationship exactly as it is? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then great, we can find a way. If the answer is no, there's nothing left to talk about. The only thing to do is leave. They're not going to change. You can't make them do anything. They have the right to be whoever the hell they are. My borderline ex had the right to not meet me halfway. She had the right to say exactly what she said. Of course, I think it's horrible, but now I have the information. But she had the right to say that. She had the right to say, well, if you want to give to me, that's great, but I don't feel I need to give to you, and I don't want to. If it's not convenient for me, I'm not going to do it. She has the right to say that. She has the right to live that way. Now, we can debate how successful she's going to be going forward in other relationships, but that's a whole other issue. But this is all about making sure that you're not wasting your time, your life, and making yourself angry and guilty and, all of that. All right, so again, this really wasn't focused on borderline relationships, but there it is. So we've got a whole 8 people watching. Is that right? Let me see. Let me refresh here and see if we got almost nobody watching at 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Yeah, so I don't see any questions here, so I'll go ahead and leave it at that. If you want to know how to heal from your dysfunctional, painful relationship, even if it's over and you can't stop thinking about them, you're in a lot of pain, I want you to click on the join button. Click at the super empath level. You'll get access to members only videos where I give you specific meditations that you can use to see things objectively. If you're having a hard time going through this list and coming to these conclusions rationally, it may mean that you're in a state of PTSD. You might be in a state of survival and you might not be thinking clearly. So there's some meditations you can do so that you can actually see what your thoughts and feelings are and make some more objective decisions. If you want to learn more about how to get connected to what it is you want out of life, if you want to change the assumption of your life, that your assumption is not about being something for other people. Your assumption is to make yourself happy. And by making yourself happy, you're more equipped to help other people be happy. Then go to thunderwizard.com and click around for the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. That's what that's all about. All right, that's it for me, guys. I will see y'all very soon.